What's going on, everyone? Scott here. Welcome back to the channel. So, Michigan State basketball drops their second game in a row and their third Big Ten game of the season, fourth overall on the season, on the road in the barn to Minnesota, who moves to 11 and 12 overall, 4 and 8 in the Big Ten, snaps their losing streak. And for Michigan State, it was a tale of an absolutely atrocious 21-point first half. Made a really good effort, especially the last 4 or 5 minutes, to come back in this game and make it a game kind of at the end. And as Tom Izzo said in the post game press conference, it's not like Minnesota. Minnesota only really plays. We talked about it. They're not a deep team. Bench team. They were. We talked about it coming into the game. Bench points wasn't really something that that was effective, or that Minnesota was really effective at. They only played 7 players. Only played 7 in this game, and even the 2 players off the bench. For them, they only played a combined 17 minutes. But so it's not like Michigan State was making this run towards the end of the game against nobody. This was against their best players, but just not enough to get it done. And kind of same story that we've been seeing a trend of saying this year, and getting off to a slow start, and then just trying to have to fight uphill, and been kind of playing with fire with that here for a while. And it, bit you again. It last week kind of saw it twice at Rutgers. But you're able to fight back, force the game into overtime, and then, kind of control things in overtime, escape with the win. But then on Friday night in the big rivalry game, you spot, one of, if not, the most talented team in the country in a big rivalry game. You spot them 16, 18 points in the first half. And, yeah, that's going to be hard to overcome. And, here you do the same thing. You go in to half down 11. I think at one point, Minnesota in the second half got the lead up to 16. Yeah, they were up 16 at one point. And look, you're not going to win many games like that. But first off, credit to Minnesota. They played well enough to win and deserve this win. They've been in a lot of games against pretty good teams, and they came out with a win in this one. And but I think also too, you can also credit Michigan State for coming back and fighting back in this one. And yeah, that's really all you can say about it. We had a lineup change, but we'll get to that when we get to Michigan State here. But first, before we do jump in, if you could just hit that like and subscribe button down there. A little more Michigan State basketball content on the channel, so just make sure you subscribe so you don't miss a video. So we'll start with Minnesota, and really kind of the biggest story for them, Jalen Crocker Johnson, one of the guys we highlighted, before the game, 22 points, 7 for 14, and 4 for 8, 4 for 6 from the line, 7 rebounds, 3 assists as well. Just solid for them and knocked down all night. I thought Cade Tyson, he was solid, 17 points, 4 for 12, not super efficient, but 3 for 7 from 3 and 6 for 7 from the line. Really big for them. Langston Reynolds, I thought was, big for them. And I thought, at times, we'll get to the whole Jeremy Fierce discussion, because I'm sure, hey, Rival fans, I know all of you are probably here for that conversation, but I thought that he was kind of a pest on the defensive side, and definitely, as Izzo kind of talked about post game, kind of was doing some of the baiting Jeremy Fears into some stuff. And listen, that's part of the game, and unfortunate that Jeremy did bite on some of the stuff, and really one of the things, and so that's unfortunate, but. For Langston, 14 points, 4 for 8, 6 for 11 from the line, but 4 rebounds, 8 assists to 1 turnover. Solid game overall from him, outside of all the, non-basketball stuff. Really solid game basketball-wise for him. But Bobby Durkin, 13 points, 4 for 8, 3 for 4, 2 for 2 from the line with 8 rebounds. Really solid. I thought he was a big time. I thought some of his shots that he hit were absolutely big time and in clutch moments as well. And then Isaac Asuma, 10 points, 3 for 6, 0 for 2 from 3, 4 for 5 from the line. But then their bench, as we said, no points from them. You got a rebound and assist, a steal and a block from Grayson Grove. And then 0 for 1 from Kai Shinaholster off the bench. Only got 1 shot up. But like we said, credit to Minnesota. They've been in a lot of games. And really kind of some of the stuff was looking at with them is they were, I thought Michigan State was getting backdoored and, kind of cut to death. I mean, was doing a really poor job of covering the gaps, and they were just, absolutely killing Michigan State's defense, back line defense as well. So credit to Minnesota. Ran a lot of good stuff. And I know Izzo kind of talked about something he was, not happy about post game. All of the 50-50, kind of balls that they were getting. Just felt like the effort wasn't there. Michigan State does win the rebounding battle, however. Yeah, didn't turn the ball over a lot either. And knocked down shots. I mean, Minnesota overall, shot 48% from the field and from three, and shot about their average from the free throw line. So, yeah, not Michigan State's best defensive performance overall. This definitely isn't like the most points that Michigan State's given up, but just kind of some of the stuff, the backdoor stuff and back line defense really was concerning in this game. But we'll slide over to Michigan State here, and the bench in this one. I thought that we got pretty good minutes from our bench overall, actually, and I'll start with Cam Ward. 17 minutes, he had 5 points, 2 for 2 from the field, 1 for 2 from the line, 4 rebounds, 2 assists. Didn't turn the ball over either. Got a steal, got a block. I thought his energy was good as well, kind of bouncing back after a tough, kind of 2 game stretch last week. I guess he had some good moments, like 7 rebounds on Friday, but the weird moment in the Rutgers game, the intentional foul thing, that was weird. But I thought he bounced back in this game and thought he was pretty solid overall. Curtis Tang, I thought he came in, 1 for 5 from the field, 1 for 4 from three. Only 3 points, got the 1 shot to go down, but he had 2 rebounds and assists, had a turnover. But I thought some of his energy and stuff was, pretty good too overall. And he had one, he missed the three and or missed the shot, whatever. I forget if it was 3 or a long 2, whatever the case may be. But followed it up, got the rebound, was able to shovel it down. So I think it was Cohen down there, but then just missed the layup. I thought, little plays like that, we're seeing from Kerr. Denim Wojcik, 5 minutes, assist, turnover. Tom kind of went to him late, kind of a little bit, with kind of sitting Jeremy down for a couple minutes, and had to go to him because Devine, who did move to the bench in this one, which we kind of talked about, knew was happening coming in. He was solid in his minutes. He only played 8 minutes, 3 points, 1 for 1 from the field, 1 for 2 from the line, 2 rebounds, but he only played 8 minutes. Sounds like a foot injury. Tom says he doesn't think it sounds good, but we'll, knock on wood, hope that it's not something long term, and hopefully get some good results from that. But hoping for the best for Devine from this one, because he was getting to the line and kind of creating, when Michigan State's offense, as we see in the first half, was very stagnant. Jesse McCullough only got 1 minute in this one. Off the bench, but Trey Fort, the story off the bench. He really, especially at the end, really kept Michigan State kind of in this thing and helped, will Michigan State back into having a chance at the end when they had no business being in the game at the end of the game. But 15 minutes, 12 points, 4 for 8 from the field, 4 for 7 from three, 2 rebounds and an assist as well. And some of these were pretty contested, like big time moment shots from Trey. So, that's solid. And if you can get this, we're not saying, he has to go out there and hit 4 threes every game, but if he can come in, knock down 2 or 3 threes a game and, provide solid minutes, a couple rebounds, maybe an assist or something, and compete on the defensive end, I think that's, something big that can really help bolster, the bench and what can be a stagnant offense at times if, we're not out and running like we want to and need to. But we'll start with the starting lineup, and we'll start with the bigs, because I think the bigs were the biggest struggle, point of the night. You start with Carson Cooper, only played 20 minutes in this one, 0 points, 0 for 3, 5 rebounds, an assist, and a turnover. Just not a lot, and I think some of it you do have to credit Minnesota, because they did switch to a zone pretty early, and Coop was not getting those pick and rolls with Jeremy Devine that, that he gets a lot of his points off of. He did take a mid-range, above the free throw line shot, didn't go in, and just not really getting any clean looks. And I think a lot of that had to do with the zone, because, Coop isn't really one of the ones that you just throw the ball down to and, like Jackson kind of go to work, footwork wise and in the post. That's not saying he can't do it, but that's not what we want Coop to do on the offensive end. We would like him to, be that lob threat and, occasional, short post wing, even straight on, free throw line extended kind of, jump shot. I think that's where we're most comfortable with Carson in the flow of the offense. But then Jax, he did play 27 minutes, but 9 points, 4 for 9, 1 for 5 from three, still struggling there. But 9 rebounds and an assist, no turnovers. But again, kind of same thing. I think it was he didn't have any turnovers, but I think they had to go with, and I know Izzo kind of talked about this, post game a little bit with the kind of lineups that Minnesota was running. That's why it seemed like they were going more with Cohen. I mean, Cohen only played 1 more minute, but Cohen and Cam Ward seemed like a lot more, especially to close the game. I think they found something that was working, kind of getting, those guys in the middle of the zone and kind of getting the ball down or to the corner to try to beat their zone. Yeah, just need the shots to start going in. It's been a rough couple weeks for Jackson, but I have confidence that he'll bounce back. But we'll go to Cohen Carr next. Solid 28 minutes, 16 points, 5 for 11, 0 for 1 from three, 6 for 7 from the line, 6 rebounds, 2 assists, only had a turnover as well. I thought he did pretty much everything to help keep Michigan State in this game. I mean, him and Jordan Scott, who we'll get to next, I mean, they were making big plays all night, but Cohen thought he competed really hard, defensively, but then the offensive stuff, I mean, 6 of his points from the free throw line, but a lot of his stuff was, he had the 2 lobs from Jeremy, but a lot of the stuff was just being aggressive, getting to the rim, putting rim pressure on Minnesota's defense and, some of it finishing through traffic, if not getting to the line and making your free throws. I thought he was really solid, tonight and continuing to see that evolution that we've been asking for from Cohen all year, and glad to see it coming out right now. Jordan Scott getting his first start, his career, 29 minutes, 15 points, 5 for 8 from the field, 3 for 4 from the 3-point line, 2 for 4 free throw line, 2 rebounds, 2 assists. Did have 2 turnovers, but I had 2 steals as well. And just kind of said, checking in like kind of halfway through the game, a little bit into the second half, you're like checking in on Jordan Scott, and it's like, oh, yep, he's doing what, we're used to Jordan Scott doing. Yeah, he just kept doing what he's doing. Loose balls, all the little stuff. Thought a little bit defensively, maybe struggled in this one with, just guys that were just bigger than him. He's a freshman. That's, bound to happen at times. So, but, everything else overall was really impressed with Jordan Scott's start. Yeah, I think it'll continue, obviously, going forward. But solid first start for Jordan Scott. But we'll get to Jeremy Fears now. First off, 32 minutes. Another double-double, but 10 points, 4 for 11 from the field, 0 for 3 from 3, 2 for 2 from the line, 2 rebounds, 11 assists, to only 2 turnovers and 2 steals. But it's, no doubt that the game definitely changed with the flagrant foul that was called. And, we talked about it in the post-game show from Friday's game. We talked about it then. We also had a whole separate video on all of the nonsense and chatter that was going on with Jeremy Fears and the dirty label that has been since attached to him since that game. There was no defending that flagrant foul. And Izzo kind of said it post game. He said that he didn't see it at the time, but he said if he did actually make contact on the kick, whatever with him, then he deserved that. And obviously he did. There's no defending that. The just kind of unfortunate thing that Izzo kind of talked about is, he said it post game was, when someone kind of puts it out there publicly, obviously something that Dusty did after last game and kind of getting called out, that's just been circulating, and that's kind of been one of the stories of especially, this Big Ten, kind of world in that we're in right now. That's been one of the major stories, and just Izzo said it himself. You got to be smarter than that and not put yourself in that situation. And I think that's why we saw a little bit of him going back to Denham in that second half. At times, Denham only played 5 minutes. That would have been divine if he didn't, get banged up in this one. But Izzo said, hey, you got to be more mature and grow up a little bit and talk to him about it. But just comparing that one to any of the stuff from Friday, which is still like just exhausting that any of that is still a conversation going on a week almost since the game. And this that specific play was nothing like anything on Friday night. And I said it at the time. The only one that I thought was even questionable was the a potential possible trip, even though, I didn't think that that was, if you look at the video, I still think that's a debatable one. But I said, hey, if you want to have one of them, that's one of them that I'll allow for. All the other stuff was absolute nonsense, and can just tell that, that these people calling these dirty plays have just never actually, you know, played anything, maybe on a video game or something. I don't know, but they never actually played any real basketball. Um, that's for sure. But yeah, this one, there's no defending this one, and that's Izzo said it. I'll say it. For all the rival fans there, that'll be in the comments for this one. Or previous videos. Hop over to this one if you want. But yeah, there's no defending that one. And just you got to know better, because that was the turning point in this one, and this is kind of a couple games now that not with Jeremy, that you look back to Rutgers last week, that or not Rutgers last week, the Friday game. There was the hook and hold call, and that definitely changed. That was what, a 6-8 point swing, whatever that was. Those couple possessions there, this turns into a 6 or so, point swing there, and had a big impact on the outcome of this game. And Izzo said it. I'll say it. You just got to be smarter than that, and especially when now, which is probably the most annoying part, is the whole team is just under a microscope. Like every little thing, like normal basketball stuff, normal basketball plays, and stuff that you can normally get away with in basketball. If you've played any level of basketball, there's little stuff, there's little jersey tugs underneath cutting through a screen, and little elbows underneath when you're going through. That's just normal stuff. And if you don't think that is, you're, I think, delusional. And maybe if just watch like elementary basketball, I don't know. But like that stuff now, like you can't even do any of that stuff. And so that's any little thing that you do now is just under a microscope and will just be questioned, um, because that's just been manufactured as a storyline. Like I said, say it again, no defending the situation from tonight, but all the stuff that was generated from the nonsense of last game definitely carried into this game and had an impact on it. There's no denying it, but got to be better, because you got a top 10 matchup coming up on Saturday. But yeah, we'll look at the overall stuff here. 45% from the field, 48% Minnesota. 3-point shooting, 38% for Michigan State, 48% for Minnesota. That was a big difference. There, both shot 71% from the line. Michigan State, 39 rebounds compared to 23, 13 to 3 on the offensive glass, 26 to 20 on the defensive side of things. 22 assists compared to 17. These were the two top assist rate teams coming into this game. 5 steals compared to 4. Both had a block. 9 turnovers for Michigan State, solid in that 8 to 12 range, but Minnesota only had 6. 7 points off turnovers compared to 11. 9 fast break points for Michigan State, none for Minnesota. 30 points in the paint compared to 24 overall. And then Michigan State, as we said, was down 16 at one point in this one in the second half. Made the valiant comeback again, back-to-back games. But I guess kind of the question is this the normal 3-game skid that Michigan State usually has, end of January into February? Or does that not count because they pulled out the Rutgers game last week? I'm kind of hoping we can count that one, and that's the 3-game skid, and we can kind of, right the ship a little bit here. Top 10 matchup on Saturday in the Brez, Saturday night, 8 o'clock. But I don't know. Definitely, I think a couple big questions loom going into that one, which we'll get more into in the preview. But I think the biggest question is Jeremy. What kind of happens? I know Izzo said he's not benching him. He's like, I don't even know if I'm going to start him next game. Like, that's not going to happen. But just kind of the headspace, kind of locking back in, especially in this one, playing against your home like state college team. Kind of what that's like. And especially since Illinois is playing like one of the best teams, not just in the Big Ten, but in the country. So that'll be a big question mark, kind of just that whole situation until this, hysteria railroad job is kind of shaken. Like that's just gonna be story one going into every game. But I think two, concern number two is what's the status of Divine? How serious is that foot injury? Hopefully, able to it's not as serious and able to be back out there. But I don't know because I do think that's a big storyline. If not, but anyway, unfortunate, tough loss for Michigan State. We'll be back to preview the Illinois game before Saturday night's matchup. But anyway, that'll do it for this one. Thank you all so much for watching. We'll see you in the next one. Peace out.